it's not the backrooms, but it's a backrooms-esque thing where it's like, okay, weird shit is just happening now.
And it's like sort of a collective amongst people then
Hmm.
too. And that was a fascinating movie. The way I kind of read it, I think there's multiple ways to read it, but the way I read it, Dream Scenario, was it's kind of a movie about like what happens when your reputation gets away from you and sort of like your image starts becoming something you cannot control. That's kind of how I looked at it. It was very funny. It was a very funny movie. Serious at times, well played, kind of juggles genres. And now the drama, which is getting a lot more attention than Dream Scenario ever did, definitely shows an evolution or sort of a continuation of this sort of formula for Christopher Borgley, this kind of jester like figure who sort of takes these like college educated, preppy individuals and sort of exposes them for their hypocrisies and such. This movie's set in the East Coast, I think Massachusetts, and revolves around a couple, Emma and Charlie, played by Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. And the movie opens with their sort of meet awkward turned meet cute. And then after a collection of scenes, it paces forward and catches up to them as they're engaged a few days before the wedding, where they decide amongst their friends to play a game of what was the worst thing you've ever done in life. And it gets Emma to reveal something that shocks everybody, in particular Charlie. It's this unexpected revelation, very close to the wedding. It alienates her best friend, who's played by Elena Heim, who you probably remember from Licorice Pizza. And essentially, then Charlie's got to grapple with this newfound revelation about his fiance with the wedding imminent and also getting like her justification about this. Now, it's hard to talk about this movie to so many degrees. We do not want to spoil it. We're not going to reveal the secret here. We're not going to reveal that. I think I said it in my review. It honestly has nothing to do with infidelity. It has nothing to do with any of that, which is even more brave, I think. I felt like that would have been cheap if it would have had to do something with that. I felt like that would have been cheap. This is a serious revelation, though, and it's one that I didn't see coming. So, and the way it's handled is really, really exemplary in a lot of places, too. I mentioned this before I throw it over to you, Joe. I mentioned this last week on the show towards the end of our Super Mario review and briefly teasing the drama show. I said this is one of the first movies I can remember in a long time where it seems like audiences are getting it a little bit more than critics. I've been very impressed by the discourse of this thing, be it on Letterboxd or even the stray clippings I see on Twitter. I've been more impressed with that than I have with the commentary from critics. And critics have been mixed positive on this, but they haven't probed it as much as I'm seeing other people review it. And I just find that very interesting. I'll throw it over to you to talk about the drama, Joe.
Okay, there we go. My mic wasn't working for a second. I'm like, oh no, here we go. Technical difficulties already. Um, yeah. So I saw this. I saw this the first time the Thursday it came out. So last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever the hell this was released. 2 weeks ago, yeah. I went to the Thursday night opening, and I was shocked when I got the tickets like right away because I was looking forward to this movie based on the cast and everything, and I was like, they're kind of keeping it a mystery of like what this whole thing is that Zendaya's character apparently did. And when I walked into the theater, I was really shocked to see like, oh man, this theater is just full of people. Like every row is practically full. Even the very front rows are even filled with people. So I'm like, cool. So sat down, movie started and everything, and I'm just thinking, oh, this is gonna be like, just like some kind of rom-com type of thing, and we'll learn what this thing is and uh what happened, what goes from there. And then when it is revealed, dude, the theater was so quiet. You can hear like people like squirming a bit in their seats. And as the movie goes along, it was one of the most uncomfortable like times I had in a theater full of people, and I loved every minute of it because of that. I loved how this movie navigated through its story, how it handled its humor even while dealing with a serious topic, because once it's revealed what it actually is, you're like, oh shit, like, this is a lot more serious than I thought. And it escalates there in the same scene with Rachel, the maid of honor, goes off on Emma, Zendaya, the bride to be. She goes off on her there, Charlie, the groom, is now like, what the hell am I going to do? And like, you're sitting there thinking like, dude, what the hell is going to happen? Like their wedding's in like 5 days. And now he's just finding out about all this stuff about Emma now. And right when I thought like, I don't know how the hell they're going to incorporate comedy into this, they meet up with a photographer for their wedding. And dude, it was like relieving so much pressure out of my stomach from how hard I was laughing at that scene. And then from there, it just clever, in very clever ways, finds a way to stitch in humor while also talking about, a very serious subject, but also even going into just like the mental aspect of this person and what they were going through and how people could see them and how.
Live and online, it's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever, Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube. We come to you live and in living color every Wednesday evening. Back on Wednesday evening. It's been exactly 8 days since we did a show. The last show we did was the drama. We reviewed the new movie starring Robert Pattinson and Zendaya. And there was some tornadic activity in my area, too, which made for a very interesting show. But we are back on Wednesdays, though. And we are back on our regularly scheduled programming to tackle Lee Cronin's The Mummy. A man I still think should be Le Cronin. I think it should be L.E. Cronin. Le Cronin. That's neither here nor there. We are going to talk Lee Cronin's The Mummy, and if this is anything like my review, I Control-F'd it. I used the name Cronin 21 times in my review. I mean, if you're going to put your name to it, I'm going to assign you all the credit and all the blame. And I'm very curious to see where we go with Lee Cronin's The Mummy. And I'm going to say this real quick up front. I've got a big revelation about the Mummy series that I'm not sure even you two know. So we've got that coming today too. Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon, and yours truly. It is Sleepless with Steve. And yes, I don't want to delay the inevitable any further. Joe, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. I got to go to an AMC Screen Unseen, and I got to see Hook 'em 2 weeks ahead of its release, which was pretty cool.
How did you say it? How do you pronounce it?
Hook 'em. Hook 'em. They say it in the
Hokum.
It's Hook 'em. Okay, they said it in the
Hook 'em.
movie, but they said it really quietly. So I was like, have I been saying it wrong this whole time? Like, I was just like,
Hokum.
okay.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of said it as someone was drinking. It's like, oh, it sounds like you have a hokum. And I was like, oh, that's how you say it. All right.
Hokum.
Hokum. Okay. Um, yeah. I went to go see that. That was cool. I haven't done a. I know these ones are called Scream Unseen because they want to, like, you know, differentiate when it's going to be a horror movie compared to when it's anything else but a horror movie. But I haven't been to, like, any of the unseen, like, preview screenings in, like, a really long time. So it was cool to experience something like that again. The excitement in the audience when it was revealed to be Hokum, they were very happy. Like, because I'm going to tell you this right now. For any of you who do go see it, and if we end up reviewing it, don't think you're in the wrong theater when the movie starts. You might be like, oh shit, I must be in the wrong screening.
Oh, is it one of those?
Yeah, because it started and I went, oh fuck, what movie is this? It took about like a good 2 minutes to like, it got to like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, it is this movie.
I am very curious about this one. I don't know a lot about it. I don't know.
You should keep it that way.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about it. The director did Oddity, did he not?
He did,
the
yeah.
director, he's an Irish fella, and which explains Hokum, given its Irish lore.
Yeah.
But I don't know much about it. I want to stick to those guns.
Ireland
Yeah,
actually
I'm
helped
glad there's not-
distribute the movie too. They're very proud of the movie, like, you know, for its folklore and just also, I mean, it's all filmed there too.
That's really cool too. They are weird, they are nostalgic, and they are drunk. They are my people after the Polacks. So I shout the Irish out any chance I get. So that is cool though. Hokum, I don't know if we're gonna review it on the show. I know it comes out next weekend.
Yeah.
Is when it releases. So TBD on that. We already put Dom through the Mummy. So I wanna make sure that we have clearance. Dom, how are you doing on that note?
I'm doing well. Now, you said I put through this. Did you mean what was the other one? I've already forgotten. But either way, I think for the most part I'm okay because it's been a busy past week. I went up to the video game music convention up in Minneapolis for the weekend with some friends, and it was a very, very good time. Lots of acts, lots of Chicago scene representing. So it was really cool. That's my first nerd convention, really just a convention in general. And it's a fraction of the size of like a Comic-Con or an ASIN or a what have you, C2E2. But for me, I think going with friends is the play, of course, and just the VGM community is really, really cool. It happens in Minneapolis every year. So already thinking about next year and meeting some new people, some new friends that I've hung out with. It's a 6.5 hour drive, so it's actually not terrible,
Minneapolis
comparatively.
is a cool city.
Yeah,
Minneapolis is a
MSP.
cool city. Yep. Yeah, it's a very nice city. There's some good food out there too. And in your case too, being it's a smaller con, you have I feel like connections foster better. You have the benefit of getting to talk to more people and stuff like that. I don't know if you felt like that personally, but I'm sure it's familiar faces year after year out there.
Yeah, honestly, I think that's gonna be what's happening because I can already kind of tell that people are already in these like not cliques, but similar circles and stuff with the panels they run and the things that they do, the projects that they do year after year. So I can already kind of tell by that. So I think this is gonna be a cool thing to I'm still not a big convention guy, but this one specifically I'm down for because it is my niche. There's a metric shit ton of jazz.
There's not many people that just go there for the fuck of it either. You know what I mean? There's people that if their people are going there
for those small ones, yeah. For those smaller ones, yeah.
They're into it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
You know
But
what?
either way, I should mention I did not watch The Mummy this week because I was partly because of that and just catching up with my life. I've actually been on like 5 hours of sleep these past like few days.
Oh shit.
Well, on Saturday night I stayed up until like 3 in the morning because I'm not gonna see these people for a year, most of them. That's like a mini vacation,
Yeah.
So And then my checkout was at like 11 a.m.
I'm assuming
and then I
you
drive
drove
for
down there, right?
hours.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. I was gonna say.
Yeah, I'm the one with the car. The friends that I went with are Chicago people who don't have a car.
Okay.
So I was cool with it. They paid me for gas, so I don't mind at all. But that did mean I was driving on. I was fine. I think we did take turns on the way back. They actually like driving when it's not city driving, when it's not stop and go. When it's like 150 miles on the highway to your next leg, then it's great. That's cool. We got cruise control.
Oh, 100%. Like, the city driving sucks. The 6 corner intersections and shit.
The stop and go,
That's
looking
the
out
worst.
for
You get on a
Sea
stretch
of
road.
red.
exactly.
Speaking very Midwestern, if you get on like I-80, I-90 North, I-55, like, you know what I mean? You could be rolling. It's the stop and go. Somebody's like, I hate driving. I hate lower whacker. I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you don't know where you're going and you lose GPS, that actually does suck.
I've been there. My friend.
So have I. So anyway,
So-
I don't know if I should just drop off at this point because I don't know what you gentlemen will be talking about. But I am looking forward to next week's Mike. Are we watching Michael? Right?
Michael.
Yes, Michael.
Yes. Michael.
Yep.
Michael who? They never explained that. But either way,
You have to see the movie to find out.
yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna catch some sleep. I'm gonna, catch up on a few things. But it was just nice to see you, gentlemen. I just like checking in, honestly.
Get some rest, my friend. Appreciate you making a little bit of time tonight, Dominic. Always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, man. I'll see you.
See you, Dom.
He will return in Michael Doomsday. He will return in Michael Doomsday. We will burn that bridge when we come to it. And no, I didn't misspeak. We are going to talk Lee Cronin's The Mummy, though. The brand new Blumhouse film just released this past weekend. I saw it yesterday, so this is very fresh in my mind. Normally, I see movies on Thursday and Friday, and by the time we get here, it's been a couple of days. I got to read my review before I launch into this thing. You know what's funny? I don't know how I want to start this, but I'm going to start it this way, Joe. So bear with me. Is that with how frequently studios want to resurrect like old movies and stuff for sequeling, rebooting, reimagining, and stuff like that, I think the more common it should be to brand them in such a way. I have no problem with this being Lee Cronin's The Mummy because it is now inextricably linked to the title. It's not like The Final Destination. Is it the first one or is it the fourth one? You have to know.
Yeah.
Is it, did you see Halloween? Are you talking about the 1978 movie? Are you talking about the Rob Zombie movie? Or are you talking about the David Gordon Green movie?
Yeah.
The fact that this is Lee Cronin's The Mummy, I think is great. I do not mind the title whatsoever. The thing that's interesting to me, though, and it didn't dawn on me until about a week before I was going to go see it, was that normally when directors or writers are attached to a movie, like Tyler Perry's The Family That Prays, Eli Roth's The Green Inferno.
Thanksgiving.
I don't know
okay.
if that's how that's how it was distributed. I remember that's how it was in the posters. Lee Daniels, The Butler, Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. Usually when a director has the clout and the gravitas to attach their name to a project and have that privilege, there is a certain level of the audience that recognizes like, oh, I know what Eli Roth brings to the table. I know what Tyler Perry brings to the table. Lee Cronin has directed 3 movies. The first of which is a movie called The Hole in the Ground in 2019, which I will admit I've never seen. I think even like many ardent horror fans, the first time I knew of Lee Cronin's name, I watched Evil Dead Rise a couple of years ago. And now we have Lee Cronin's The Mummy. So it was kind of the interesting thing where it's like, I know who wrote it, I know who made it, but I don't have anything really to ascribe to the director like I do Eli Roth, Lee Daniels, Quentin Tarantino, others who have had their names assigned to movies. So on that realm, it was very unique. And I will let you talk now, Joe. Your thoughts on The Mummy.
I gotta say,
Lee
I mean,
Cronin's the mummy.
it's a good sign. I don't know how you feel about this movie, so I might be way off by making this statement. It's a good sign when we're talking about a movie and we're just talking about how that's cool that they did that with the title. Yeah. So for those of you wondering, like plot synopsis wise for this movie, I'll summarize it with this. This movie starts out with a family who's living in Cairo, and they're just doing some work out there. The father of the family, played by Jack Rayner, and if you know who Jack Rayner is, if you're a horror fan, you know he's in Midsummer. He plays a dad named Charlie, and Charlie's a news reporter, and he's basically just taking contract gigs to make a name for himself so he can eventually get to the big leagues and everything. While they're out in Cairo and living out there just doing contract work, and his wife, Larissa, is working as a nurse, their daughter, Katie, is abducted and kidnapped away from them. And 9 years later, they end up going back to the States over the course of that 9 years. They have another child named Maud, and they have a boy named Sebastian who knew Katie, was around when Katie got kidnapped and everything. But 9 years later, she shows back up, and she is not what she used to be. She is completely just pale skinned. Nails are longer than your fingers. She looks, I mean, I'll just say she looks mummified, and they're just basically trying to figure out what happened to their daughter, and what can they do to save her is basically the synopsis of the movie. I say that because that's what I thought this movie was going to be, and it is that for about the first 20 to 30 minutes. Then it becomes The Exorcist. Then it becomes a mystery movie, and then it finally, Lee Cronin just went, you know what? I had such a good time making Evil Dead. I think I'm going to make Evil Dead again. And he just throws in all these other movies that he either has taken inspiration from or he had a hand in. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to start making this movie now. I think this is the one I want to make. And for me, this led to the movie having a significant problem. And, you could probably tell how I feel about this movie if I'm just starting off on the bad and everything. This movie has an identity problem for me. It doesn't know what story it wants to focus on. It doesn't know what it wants to do. Pet Sematary was another movie that came to mind because it's just sometimes dead is better or whatever. That whole thing. And I was just sitting there. I'm like, this had such a great setup for a modern day remake of The Mummy, where it's it's a 9-year-old girl who is mummified, and this family, and seeing what Lee Cronin did with Evil Dead Rises and how heartbreaking it was to watch that family get torn apart because of the Deadites possessing them one by one and everything, it made me go okay, this is actually a really cool idea to modernize The Mummy, where it's they're doing a family that lives here and everything. They're experiencing this horrible tragedy where their daughter got kidnapped and she's come back and she's just this mummy corpse thing that's just rotting upstairs in their room, and they're just trying to figure out, trying to be a family still and everything. But the main issue I have is this. Evil Dead Rises found the right balance of drama with, evolving those characters through that horrible, situation they were in, and amazing gore effects and makeup effects. The Lee Cronin's The Mummy is just obsessed about its makeup and gore effects, and it doesn't really develop any of its characters. I don't think the plot is all that interesting. When it becomes a mystery movie and a detective noir almost, not noir, but basically a detective movie for about 20 minutes, it comes to a grinding halt for me during those moments. And I thought okay, well, this would be cool because we're back in Cairo now, and this is a unique setting at least compared to being in New Mexico. But no, it just kind of bored me some more. And then over the course of the movie, I mean, I'm just kind of sitting there, I'm like, the whole movie is about them just figuring out what happened to their daughter. And as an audience, we know what happened to the daughter because it's on the damn title of the movie. She's the mummy. Let's just get right to it. For me, this was a huge disappointment in many ways. And I'll go into more detail about that and other aspects that disappointed me, but also aspects that I will give a tip of the hat to Lee Cronin and his team when it comes to this movie. But I'm going to wrap it up with this. I think Blumhouse needs to stop making these classic horror movie monsters because I don't think they know what they're doing other than The Invisible Man, which I will credit the director of that movie more than the studio Blumhouse.
Shout out to Leigh Whannell.
Thank you.
Shout out to Leigh Whannell. Love that representation on this show. Lee Cronin's The Mummy is one of those movies where a character overhears his daughter clicking her tongue and chomping her teeth, runs to his desk, rummages for a conveniently placed book on Morse code, and proceeds to decode her message flawlessly. And this is also one of those movies where that same person who decoded that message then has the time and patience to sift through a treasure chest of his daughter's collection to find the decoded message in the one envelope that is conveniently the very last envelope he finds in a bottom of the Chester dresser. It's one of those movies. It is one of those movies. And I'm not going to lie, like that great meme, it had me in the first half. Because I'm going to say this with Lee Cronin's The Mummy, and I'm going to call it Lee Cronin's The Mummy, because his name's all over this. I really liked the first 30 to 40 minutes of this thing.
Same.
The prologue was interesting, and the second prologue when they're in Cairo, and it is a news reporter, as you said, played by Jack Reynor, and his family living in Cairo. Unique setting, different location. They are outsiders in an area where they do not speak the prominent language. It was fascinating. I love the sibling relationship between Katie and Sebastian. Love that. Did not think that Jack Reynor and Leia Costa, the couple, had great chemistry, but I thought they were individually good. I thought they were individually good. Didn't think they had a ton of chemistry. And I also really like, shout out to Veronica Falcon, who plays the grandmother, too. Really liked her. Thought she had some really cool moments, too. Very believable role. I liked the way they built the foundation, how Cronin built the foundation of this family, because it wasn't like I complained about the drama last week, and I'm very cognizant of what I complain about nowadays.
Yeah.
I complained about the drama last week a little bit, about how I was like, I wish I got to know this couple a little bit more. Well, we did get to know this family pretty well.
Yeah.
Before the shit starts happening, before the Katie goes to the fence and all this other stuff. I liked that, and I was really drawn to kind of the humanistic touches. Nothing amazing, nothing truly penetrating, but it was interesting. And then there's a point in this movie, to your point, Joe, where it becomes, where I'm watching it and it's like, oh, it's kind of like The Exorcist now. Well, she's not supposed to be demon-possessed. She's supposed to be mummified.
Yeah.
Like... okay, that's where the threads with the scripture come in and things like that. And then it goes to like, oh, this kind of feels like an Evil Dead Rise rehash. And this is where I feel like they gave Cronin the movie, or they gave Cronin the property.
Yeah.
They gave him the property, but he has not established his own voice and his own style enough to make something like this work.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, it feels hopelessly derivative.
Yeah.
It feels hopelessly derivative. Not bad. And there's some disgusting scenes in this. Not bad, but unpleasant. Not in the regard of what it shows. The toenails and some other scenes. Not unpleasant, but unpleasant in the regard that it's like, it feels like shock value without substance.
Yes, it's that 100%. You know, for me, I'll jump back to that in a second, but yeah, within the first 20 minutes when they bring Katie home and she's in the wheelchair and they're bringing her up the stairs and you hear her wheezing as they're going up, and like you kind of like you saw right before she even gets there how excited the grandmother, even the older brother, even the sister who's never met her are like, oh my God, like, you know, she's coming home. We get to meet her.
That struck me. That struck the emotional chord here. Yep.
And she's, you know, in this wheelchair. She's going up. She can't really breathe. She can't really speak. And she's just laying in that bed. And the family's like, okay, well, here we go. And it's just like, oh shit, like, this is actually hitting me, like, emotionally. The movie peaked for me right there. And from there on out, it just started going down. Because rather than focusing on that family aspect and incorporating elements of what the mummies usually did, like in either the Brendan Fraser movie, hell, that Tom Cruise movie, or the classic Universal monster movie. No, yeah, they just decided to make The Exorcist with this. And it's just like, okay, I'm like, so we're making The Exorcist now. All right, well, like, what are we going to do with it? Well, we're just going to do shock value with it because we just want to be gross. We're going to have this be just mean-spirited. So, like, Katie's just going to say the most horrendous shit or do the most horrendous things just because we just want her to do that. It doesn't advance the plot forward or anything. We're not going to really do anything with... A character gets possessed in this movie, and they really don't do anything with her. She just, like, she gets possessed. There's this whole big sequence of her getting possessed, literally floating, stuck at the door like this, and, like, you're like, oh, what's this going to lead to? Nothing, really. It doesn't really play into anything. Even another person gets possessed, and even that didn't lead into anything crazy.
A good scene with dentures.
Yeah,
Like...
yeah. I don't even know if I'll call it good, man. That whole sequence, there's a whole big sequence involving a funeral, and I honestly started laughing at the movie. I thought it was being comical, and it's not like I'm laughing with it, like, oh, this is so crazy, and it's like, no, this is getting ridiculous, like blood getting on food and people eating it and not realizing there's blood on it. There's literally like a person crawling on the ceiling with hundreds of people, not hundreds of people, but like 40 people in this house and no one's noticing and all this. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is getting a little bit like, it's just, it felt like a scene, and this is how the movie felt in general too when it got to its shock value with its horror and its gore especially. It felt like somebody, and I know Lee Cronin's the only person who wrote this movie, but it really felt like Lee Cronin was writing it and went, oh, you know what would be crazy? And then this happens. And you know what would be even crazier? And then this happens. And you know what would be crazier? And then this happens. And it's just like, hey, man, the situation you already started with is crazy enough. We don't need scorpions crawling into people's throats and bursting out of them. Like, it's just like, we don't have to go there. Like, it's already a crazy situation. We don't need, like, coyotes running about the house and everything and ripping out intestines. It's just like, man, like, it really feels like he is just having... And I saw somebody say this, too, about the movie, and I was like, you know what, that's so true, because I know people who did like this movie, but I really do think your enjoyment of this movie is going to depend on the mileage you get out of gore effects in horror movies. If you absolutely love the Terrifier movies, you'll probably have a great time with this movie, because, yeah, one of the positives I'll say about this movie, its gore effects and its makeup effects are really good. And there is a sequence in this movie involving a toenail that I was squirming in my chair, and the payoff made me just go, I don't think I ever want to clip my toenails ever again. I don't even want to try. I went home, I wore socks.
Hangnails.
Yeah.
Makes you look at hangnails different, doesn't it?
Oh God, dude. Like, it's effective. It's what Lee Cronin's great at, which is gore, which is why he was perfect for Evil Dead Rise. Like, and just like tension building like that. But, like, again, similar to how I felt about Super Mario Galaxy, when we're on the 18th scene of somebody eating a bug or, peeling their skin off, it loses its effect. Like, it's just like, you've been doing this the whole time. Like, honestly, too, the toenail thing was also the peak of the gore as well. I was like, I don't think you're going to top that for the rest of this movie. They kind of don't, like, honestly. Yeah, like, the movie loses sight on what it established so early on and what was like winning me over early on, making me go, oh, he's about to do it again. He's going to break my heart watching a family go through such a horrific scenario, and they're going to tear each other apart. And like, it's like the monster's there, but really it's dumb, being at each other's throats, them not believing one another it's what's going to tear them apart. And it's like at times it seems like it's going to go down that route, but then like they just chose not to. There's also some just really bad writing, not dialogue wise, but just like the situations Katie puts this family through, or the mummy, whoever you want to classify her as, the situations they go through while she's mummified in this home. There comes a point in time, there's no way she would be in that house still. Like, and there's also, as you were pointing out too, he remembers the Morse code perfectly. He finds the letter. It's the last letter he's never opened. There's so many times too, I hate to say this, but it's white people in horror movie, like cliche and tropes. I mean, this guy, literally someone finds like a rotting wooden floor with peeled off skin, blood, and flies, and they just decide, I'll just put a rug on top of it. I'll come back to that.
Put a rug on top of it.
I'll come back to that later. It's just
That's
like
worth mentioning. I really liked the performance of the movie. I really liked May Kalamaui, who is the Egyptian detective in the movie.
yeah,
Like, I thought she was really stoic. I don't think I went through her filmography yesterday when I was writing the review. I don't think I've seen anything from her. She was in I was gonna say you're into Marvel. She was
she's
in the
Moon
Moon
Knight.
Knight series.
Yeah,
and
she's good in that.
Knight.
She's really good in that.
I liked her in this, and I thought she was the best. I thought she was the best.
She gave the best.
actress,
She
too.
did get. It sucks that her story was just kind of like going through the motions of almost any other detective movie. But the thing that was keeping me awake during that was it was her performance, because like she does have a stoicism to her. You're absolutely right about that, where she is like you feel like she's the only detective out there actually giving a shit about what happened to Katie.
She reminded me a little bit too, and I feel weird making this comparison, like because they're both, from an American perspective, international actresses. Like
Yeah.
May Kalamaui is an Egyptian, and she lives in Egypt, and Sandra Hüller is German. She reminds me of Sandra Hüller from Project Hail Mary and Anatomy of a Fall, where they're just so good at being stoic. They draw you in, and they have this like magnetism to them when like they're on screen and it's serious.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole scene of like Kalamaui's detective character getting subjugated by her boss that doesn't really go anywhere outside of that scene. Doesn't really hold any water. Comes back around in a brief scene when Raynor's father, or when Jack Raynor as the dad, brings it up.
Yeah.
You know what this? I want to ask you really quick too, and I didn't mention this in my review, in my written review. It just dawned on me as I was listening to you talk about this. Did you see Bring Her Back last year?
No, I really wish I did. I heard that was like, I didn't hear like it was amazing, but a lot of people told me it's good fun. Like it's like a well-made movie that like gets under your skin at times. And I heard some people like say you're either gonna love the ending or not, like, or the third act, type of like payoff thing. I forget what people were telling me about it, but like everybody I talked to said it was good. Like,
the reason I thought of it when you were talking about it is because it was again what drew me to the first half of this movie, or the first third rather, because Bring Her Back is essentially about these kids in a very broad term. It's about these kids in foster care whose foster mother is deeply untrustworthy, obsessive, abusive.
Yeah, I did hear about this.
One another. Sally Hawkins is the mother in that movie.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because Laia Costa, who plays the mother in the movie, kind of looks like Sally Hawkins at certain angles. Kind of looks like her in some angles. But just listening to you talk about it reminded me of Bring Her Back. And I don't think Bring Her Back was a great movie. I thought it was a good movie. Mm-hmm. And it's very similar in the regard that it's gory, it's graphic. There's a scene with teeth that still unnerves me when I think
everybody
about
has told me about that scene, and when I watch it, I can't wait to see it.
And the kids were great. The one kid in particular was great in that film, but the kids were great. But it reminds me, thinking of The Mummy, though, was like, now I realize, and I didn't even write it yesterday when I was writing my review. Part of what drew me to the beginning of The Mummy was it reminded me of Bring Her Back, because Bring Her Back, even if I didn't love all the narrative directions it took later in the movie, it still gave me this sort of like somber story of these foster children who are being taken care of by an untrustworthy, abusive mother. And it puts you in sort of this sullen, helpless situation. And you're kind of left with the kids to like figure out how to navigate it. Mm-hmm. And what I think with this movie too, and it sets it up from the very beginning, it just gets more disappointing as it goes on. But like, the point of view to set this fucking thing through was through Maud, the kid. That was the point of view to carry through the movie.
No, it was, yeah.
Even the fucking broadcaster in me, like, wasn't too interested in Jack Raynor's TV anchor character. The mother. Like, they should have captured it through the daughter that had no connection, or the son, Sebastian, who knew her, Katie, before she disappeared. and that's where you probe like innocence. That's where you probe discomfort, vulnerability from.
Yeah.
That's the POV this thing should have assumed once Katie was found.
No, you're absolutely right about that, because there could have been a cool dynamic of you're the new daughter and I was the old daughter. Like you're the person that was here because they couldn't find me, basically. Like it's just like
For Maud, you replaced me.
yeah, basically, yeah. And Sebastian would have been like a great like character who's caught in the middle between, well, this is my
Doing
new
both.
baby sister, and then this is my older sister that I knew when I was younger. Man, no, yeah, with Charlie, Jack Rayner's character, they try to do this whole thing where like he's researching this stuff to, like, it's hinted at that he's trying to do it to revitalize his journalism career, and but they also kind of like drop that like in some ways. Like it's just like, man, like they really didn't know what they wanted to do with these characters other than put them through just terrible stuff. And it's just like, again, like that's what makes them feel so unrealistic or just not a character at all, is because they don't have natural reactions to what's happening around them. I mean, Jack kind of does. Charlie, I should say. You know, there's one point he's like, I think it's time we got to get her out of the house. But like the mom is just like, no, I can take care of our daughter. I know what I'm doing. And it's just like, do you? Like the fourth time to like this week that she's done something like put like supernatural, and we're just gonna be okay with it. Like, it's just like, come on. Um, that's, and the other thing too is like I'm a little let down they didn't play more with the Cairo setting. I really think, man, like this movie probably would have been better if it was in Cairo the whole time. It just would have been a better setting for the movie than just Albuquerque, New Mexico. Like it's just like Cairo, like when the movie started out there, I was like, oh shit, like we're actually in Egypt. I wasn't expecting that with this movie. I thought it was gonna be like something else. Because I avoided trailers for this movie, so I didn't know like how this was gonna go down. So like when we only go back there for the detective work, I was like, damn, like again, it would have been cool to stay in Cairo because like again, it's like they're not from there. They don't speak the native language. It just, you know, it kind of, you know, it makes the scenario more tense. It also makes them feel more helpless because it's like, well, where can we bring our daughter to? Like, you know, who knows anything out here? Like, it would have added to the stakes, the drama of this. But it's like, you know, when when they bring Katie home and everything, and they're doing this whole thing, and then like even towards the end of the movie where like they do something else with the mummy in terms of bringing it to Cairo and all this other stuff. It just made me go like, man, how did this get through customs? Like, how did you guys handle this? Like, it was like, it made me start thinking of scenarios like that, because there's also just like really just like things are just out there in the open, and it's just like, no, like this wouldn't fly. And it sucks to say this, and well, it doesn't suck to say this is a good thing. We've been saying this on Sleepless for the past like 3-4 years now. We're in a golden age of horror movies, smart horror movies that really think about like what they're doing, establishing their characters, having a good story, but like making their characters smart, like making the reactions feel real, making the stakes feel like high and desperate and everything. When a movie like this, when you get, I hate to say it, Blumhouse is, you know, for a studio that I used to look at and go, you know what, like small budgets, but like they are creative. They are like, you know, they're taking steps forward. Whenever they do these property, yeah. Whenever they do these property movies, this reminds me of like the early 2000s when we got like those just basic horror movies that were just there to like, you know, hey, like we're just gonna, you know, have a bunch of kills and jump scares and everything and just by the numbers type of horror movies. They remind me of that because there's just so many times in this movie that people are just making dumb decisions and logically like everything that's happening doesn't make sense. It's just like I'm becoming more aware of like when I'm watching a horror movie like this, when they're doing something like this, because it's like I'll go watch something that's made for way less money, even for a Blumhouse movie, and it's much smarter at like telling its story, but also making the horror feel that more real and giving that sense of dread or even just like hopelessness. Like hell, I mean, Evil Dead Rise, like it takes place in one building, the entire movie. And it is like, oh shit, like, you know, I cannot wait for this family to try and break out of here. Like I am tense as hell. Right outside the door, it's literally a hellscape. Oh my god, like it just made me realize like how much of like this movie was missing the mark when it's like I compare it back to what Lee Cronin made before.
You know what I'll say to people if they ask me, what did you think of Lee Cronin's The Mummy? Sounds like an English class sentence. But What did you think of Lee Cronin's The Mummy? I'm going to say it reminded me of The Exorcist, Believer.
Okay, you said
And
it, and I'm when we come back from break, I got stuff to say about that too.
we will. And I've also got a revelation about the Mummy franchise too that I'm not sure. I was going to say it's sad that Dom isn't here, but I'm not sure that you know. I told Catherine this. Catherine was shocked. My revelation about the Mummy series, which also kind of led into my opening monologue about how I'm glad that this thing is branded as like Lee Cronin's The Mummy for differentiation purposes. We will dive into that. Joe, I'll let you lead off when we come back from intermission. It is Sleepless with Steve live on YouTube. This is a good one for a mediocre movie. We're back talking Lee Cronin's The Mummy in just a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. It's Sleepless with Steve live on YouTube.
Ever when things were just so slapdash at the last minute. No, a 3.5 out of 4 stars. This was great.
Really great discussion, guys. We will move forward, briefly touch on this. I do want to give this a little bit of time because we mentioned it about a month ago, and there's been a not totally an update, but a bigger, more deep dive on it. It's less a news story now, and it's becoming more of a feature. Really, thanks to this excellently made Variety piece by Adam B. Very. It has to deal with the Blair Witch Project actors, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. I'm friends with Joshua Leonard on Facebook, so I saw when he posted this initially, this whole thing of calling out Blumhouse and calling out the studio behind the Blair Witch Project as well, which was Artisan Entertainment at the time, for not giving them their royalties and really not getting due compensation for a movie that was generationally effective, made hundreds of millions of dollars, and is still an ensuing cultural staple that now has a sequel and a soft reboot made since then. The title of the article is called "The Blair Witch Project Actors Call Out quote unquote reprehensible behavior after missing out on profits for decades." This is an exclusive to Variety by Adam B. Very. What basically Adam B. Very did was he got the 3 actors, Joshua Leonard, Michael C. Williams, and Ray Hance, formerly Heather Donahue, all together on Zoom to talk about exactly what they are demanding from Artisan, now Lionsgate, and Blumhouse, mainly Lionsgate, because Lionsgate really just came to an agreement with Blumhouse to try to reboot the movie again and make another movie. And it's coming up on the 25th anniversary of Blair Witch. This is the 25th anniversary year of that movie. So basically the 3 actors wrote an open letter to Lionsgate on April 20th requesting quote unquote meaningful consultation on any future Blair Witch related projects that would likely result in the use of their names and faces, and requesting retroactive and future residual payments for the movie, quote unquote, equivalent to the sum that would have been allotted through SAG-AFTRA had we had proper union or legal representation when the film was made. The key point to understanding this is you have to go back to when the Blair Witch Project was made and released. We were young. So when we learned about this, the buzz was long over. But basically, in 1999, the internet wasn't what it was today. This was a movie made on a shoestring budget that got 3 basically theater actors involved in the production of this movie. They were given cameras and they were given a script outline for what they had to reenact in the woods. And it was the producers and the people, the very few people, limited crew members behind it that were making those sort of stick figure things and hanging them throughout the woods and kind of giving them a guided map on where to go. When the movie premiered at Sundance Film Festival, it was passed off as a real life student movie. And the actors had to go into hiding pretty much after the movie came out for about 9-10 months because it had to make it look like they were missing and presumed dead. Well, obviously, consequently, then they thought, well, we're going to go into hiding. This movie's going to get acquired, which it did by Artisan Entertainment. We're going to get money from this then eventually because they can't work. Yeah. They can't really work. They can't work in the entertainment industry, rather, at the time. One of the most moving parts of this long piece is when Michael C. Williams, the actor who plays Mikey in the movie, they all play their real character names. Love my webcam going out right now. He says, though, and I quote, I'm embarrassed that I let this happen to me. He said, you've got to put stuff away because you're a fucking loser if you can't. Because everybody's wondering what happened, and your wife's in the grocery line and she can't pay because a check bounced. You're in the most successful independent movie of all time, and you can't take care of your loved ones. And that's really I think the most powerful part of this whole thing is that it's really, I think the most shocking is like how they didn't come out after the most recent reboot, and they had the restraint to still, or they didn't feel like it was the time to come out, or they really didn't think that they would have the power and the movement behind them to do so now. The sad part, which is also noted, I was going to try to find it here really quick, with the is when they were talking to a representative for SAG-AFTRA, the author of the Variety piece, Adam B. Very. He says it's complicated, this situation, because he said he's hopeful that the performers will achieve some compensation, but when there is no union contract covering the production, the actors in the union are generally limited to appealing to fairness. And of course, Lionsgate representative declined the comment for the story, as well as former executives at Artisan Entertainment, which I doesn't exist anymore either. So I don't know what's going to happen with this, and I'm afraid it's not going to be much. It's not going to be to the just due or satisfaction of Ray Hance, Michael C. Williams, and Joshua Leonard, which really sucks, because I can't imagine doing something like that at a really young age. You got to think they were in their early 20s when they did this. They were younger than us when they did that movie. Struggling post-college kids that were thinking that, like, to see this movie rake in hundreds of millions of dollars and become a cultural phenomenon while they're struggling to make rent. And they're the three behind it. And then the sequel comes out 2 years later. They don't get any money from that, even though they're using archival footage from the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Then Blair Witch comes out, which was a total secret production, as we talked about last time on the show. That was a total secret production. That movie comes out. They're in that movie in archival footage too. They don't get anything. They don't even get a fucking call that says that they're going to be doing this movie. It's shocking. I guess it shouldn't be shocking, but I guess the gull of these studios is really appalling. And I hope that something comes from it. I don't know if anything will, though, because the SAG-AFTRA compensation that they're seeking was something that had to be done for legal reasons on the production of the movie. And that didn't happen, clearly. And I don't know if there's a way to remedy that. We'll go Dom and then Joe for commentary on this.
Yeah, I don't really have much hope from a legal standpoint. This whole play by the three. It's good. It's great that they're coming out now. But I feel like enough time has passed where, and asking for legal representation, it's really more so a play to the general public. We're not expecting anything to come from the studios that they're actually talking, that they were the letters and stuff were seemingly talking to. They're really talking to the general public just to get some public sympathy and maybe get to kind of like leverage them in that position, which again, if that's the best you can do, that's the best you can do. Because it's a damn shame. And Steve, you mentioned earlier that they didn't even have the backing. They didn't feel the confidence to do this even in 2016, which is a bit ago, but still. And that makes perfect sense considering the environment at the time. But here in 2024, they absolutely do. So I really can't comment too much more from this other than shout out to Variety for featuring this article. But I will say that this is this specific story of these three and what they're doing right now is a really interesting knockoff effect of the labor movement that we've been seeing in the past several years with the WGA, with SAG-AFTRA, and just in general, this kind of class consciousness, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't mean to get academic, but I'm saying, like, you're right. If they didn't feel this way in 2016 and not in every year subsequently, what makes it about it now in 2024 that gives them the courage to do this? It could be other things, like maybe they're more desperate. I really hope not, but maybe there's some things in their personal life, financially or what have you. I forget if they mentioned it in the story. That could be a thing that does happen, but I really think it's just the wider consciousness of like, hey, let's re-examine how we like compensate people
Yeah.
for their creativity and their labor. They're more abstract
It-
labor.
It could
Yeah.
be also, I mean, the most recent strike was about, the use of AI and everything and the images
Yeah.
used of people without their permissions and everything. So it could have been like, hey, you know what? Everybody was out and about protesting about this. Maybe this is our time to finally bring it up because we're now in an age where it's like, yeah, like, people can be scanned into movies and without their permission and everything. And they just appear on the screen and whatnot. Like,
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson, one of the biggest actresses of all time, all of a sudden
Mm.
is now just an AI generated image on the screen and whatnot. So maybe that's
Well, they
how
hired a voice alike. That's okay.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, Dom, sorry I cut you off.
No, I mean that's exactly my point. Where it's just re-examining how we use people, use their likeness, and use their efforts,
Yeah.
and how do we compensate that? And that's really, really. I mean, in some ways, it's not difficult when you look at the money that they're bringing in, but it.
Back and better than ever. After an extended intermission, it is Sleepless with Steve live on YouTube. We're talking the Mummy, Le Cronin. Le Cronin's the Mummy. He's got his name all over this thing, so I want to make sure to give him proper credit and stuff. I don't want to harp too bad on Lee Cronin. This thing is messy. This is a messy movie in a lot of different respects. Now, before I let you go, Joe, because I know you have something that you want to say. Here's my shock point that I was going to reveal in the beginning, or that I teased in the beginning. I have not seen the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies.
Oh, okay.
I have not. I've not seen any of them. Familiar with them, but they came out at a time when young Steve was allowed to watch movies like Clerks and Tremors and just wasn't into swords and sandals and things like that. The only reason I bring it up, though, is because I feel like a lot of people don't realize that the Brendan Fraser Mummy series was based off the 1930s Mummy series, the Universal Horror series, and which spawned, I think, 4 movies deep into the 40s. It was the Mummy franchise, and it was really good. It was a horror franchise. It was one of my favorite Universal Hammer horror films, right up there with The Invisible Man, which is probably my favorite of that era, even above Dracula and Frankenstein. Invisible Man and the Wolf Man, those two, and then probably the Mummy. And there's others like Phantom of the Opera, Bride of Frankenstein, things like that. But you had the Mummy series then, the Brendan Fraser series, which everybody from our age group, especially millennials and even Gen Z, know very well. And the difference, though, is that like that took it in like an action adventure,
Indiana
sort of
Jones.
Indiana Jones. That's a good way to put it. I haven't seen him. I'm just kind of going off paratext.
Yeah.
But it took it in a different action direction. So then you see something like this, and it's like, they're making it a horror movie now? No, it always was. It always was.
I always correct people like that. I'm like, yeah, I know y'all want to think the original with Brendan Fraser. Ain't the original.
ain't the original. No. We don't play that. I just wanted to make that clear. So this is where I'm judging the Mummy off of. In a way, I think it's kind of rare for like a critic or somebody who reviews movies. I've not seen the Fraser movies, and I'm not holding it against the 1932 movie standard. I'm just saying that, like, I know this is a horror franchise. You know what I mean? And I'm as appreciative as I am that it's kind of gotten back to this in a way. God damn it, I wish it was better.
Yeah, that's the thing, man, is that, you're not going to win people over with not you. We're not going to win people over. We're like, no, like the Mummy is supposed to be a horror movie. See? And then this is what we show them. And they're just like, what the hell? Like, like, okay. Like, I mean, the toenail scene was kind of cool, but like, that's about it. Like, it sucks when like, this is where it should be. And it's 2 times now they tried rebooting this character, the Mummy. I mean, I guess the Tom Cruise one was more in line with the Brendan Fraser movies. That was definitely more in line with that, with being
I totally forgot. And this has nothing to do. I should have said it earlier. This has nothing to do with the Universal Dark universe failed franchise that gave us
No,
the
no, no, no,
Invisible
no, no.
Man, Renfield, Wolfman. This has nothing to do with that. This is actually, I think, the first Mummy movie produced outside of Universal.
It
They
is.
gave
It's
it
a
to
Warner Brothers
Blumhouse.
movie. Yeah.
They gave it to BH. They gave it to Warner Brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, which the reason why they did that is because they are trying to make Universal is trying to make a Mummy movie one more time with Brendan Fraser. They're trying to make a fourth one, which is also
this incentivizes them.
yeah, which is probably why it's called Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Is also because like they probably just don't want to get obviously too now the whole Brendan Fraser's not in Lee Cronin's The Mummy makes more sense because they were really trying to make sure people did not go into this movie, and you still had some people that I know were like, well, I thought like, it was going to be connected in some sort. Like, why? Why would it? Like, because what, everything else
What
today
gave
is
you that
connected to
impression?
everything?
Yeah, what gave you that impression? Like,
I don't know, because it has the mummy in it, dude. It
it-
add sand.
yeah, and you know what? I know we're kind of riffing here in a certain point. I want to bring this up, though, because I just seen this. On Lee Cronin's The Mummy Wikipedia page. And again, this is why Wikipedia is the godsend of sources and godsend of information. People say, oh, it's anybody can edit it. These sources are cited, okay? Anyway, Lee Cronin, two movie influences
Oh, I read
he
about
used
this.
for this thing. Okay, so you already know. He described The Mummy as one part Poltergeist and one part Seven with Brad Pitt, but put through my lens in the way that I like to entertain people. And see, I look at it as like Exorcist and Evil Dead.
Yeah.
I don't see Poltergeist in the realm, and I'm not trying to critique other people's influences. I'm not passing judgment on that. Poltergeist because the victim's a little girl. Seven because it's a quasi-investigative investigative drama revolving around a sometimes journalist. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't see it.
You know what's crazy too is if he actually would have been more in line with Poltergeist's scares and what that movie does to like scare the audience, that would have been more in line with the Mummy and how the Mummy's powers work and everything like that. Because everything the Mummy does here, it's what you would see in Evil Dead or The Exorcist. Like it's just vomit spewing, throwing people across the room, making them float, like all that stuff, and then doing like coughing up blood onto them, all this stuff. So stuff you would see in
Yes.
Evil Dead. Poltergeist has it where it's just like this thing is living in your home and it's just slowly making you insane because that's what it's doing. It's feeding off of you. And it's just like that would have been more like Poltergeist. But they did it. I could see the Seven connection. Yeah, because the like you're saying, the investigation part of the movie. But even then, I mean, like it ain't even close to like the crazy high stakes of Seven, especially when we don't know how Seven's gonna end. We know what the hell happened to Katie. All right, we're just like, okay, we gotta wait for her to get to point A to point B. Also, side note, it just really annoys me too. Why the hell, as a detective, would you find the evidence, watch it, know exactly what went wrong, and go, hey, I know what's wrong with your daughter. I will be there, and I'm going to fly across the country and come tell you. Not like just tell you over the phone. Let me fly from Cairo to Arizona or New Mexico, sorry.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of calling somebody and saying "text me" and hanging up. I know your parents do this too. They call you, you miss the call, and then you see a text from them that says "call me."
Yeah.
You
then
know,
you call them
like,
and they don't answer like 3 times in a row.
100%. Like that's what this was. I mean, and this is a movie of a lot of ideas. I think at the end of the day. I will say this though, because normally this is a complaint tethered into longer movies I don't like. This didn't feel its length for me at 2 hours.
Oh, it did for me.
Did it feel it for you? It didn't feel it for me. I'll say this. I was never bored by this movie. I was never bored, sullen, disinterested. I was engaged with it. And I can't even really tell you why. I don't know if it was just the strength of the beginning with the family and everything like that.
It could be. It could have been just you holding out, like, okay,
I didn't feel that this was like, my term I like to use, ass-numbingly long, and this is already long for a horror movie in a way.
Oh, it is.
I didn't feel like when it ended or when it was starting to get the climax. When it got to like the climax, it's one of those movies that has like three different. You're anticipating the cutaway
three different
to the
endings.
credits. You're anticipating the cutaway to the credits, three different points, and then I don't want to. This is really flirting with spoiler territory. There's a part of me that thinks it's like cowardice on Lee Cronin's part that. Okay, you're going to show all this nasty shit. The scorpion in the neck, the toenails, but the fucking retribution scene is the one you decide to show the exterior of and then pan out. Like, that seemed cowardice to me. That seemed very cowardice to me.
By the way, this is going on my list of bad movies with a cool-ass ending, but I do hate that they cut away from it. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, dude.
It's a satisfying ending in the way
really
of
is.
What happens. It's a satisfying ending. But you show me all this gross shit, like, for 2 hours, and I'm no prude. You show me this disgusting denture, toenail, hangnail, shin getting ripped off shit. You show me all this stuff, all this nasty, gnarly shit that would make people retch. But you're not going to show me the comeuppance? The uppance has come, and you're not going to show it to me?
Yeah.
Like, and how satisfying it is, because you feel, you almost, there was a part of me in the back of my head thinking about it again. I started hearing, when you hear the screams and everything, again, not trying to give away the ending, but you hear, there's a part of me, there's that, like, back part of my brain that's like, da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. Like, and I'm like, and you're gonna pan and scan away from that, and it felt cowardice in a way. It's like, all right, we made it this far. You've elongated this 2 hours. At least show the fucking thing.
It should have. I'll tell you in the green room, because then that'll be giving away too much of what I'm about to say. But like, I even know like how they could have shot that whole sequence, and it would have been really cool to like end the movie like that. Yeah, I mean, I can give you my quick thing about the whole Exorcist, and then I can tie it into my closing thoughts if you want.
Go for it.
Yeah, so the only thing I was going to say is, yeah, this movie reminds me a lot about Exorcist Believer. If you've been keeping up with the show, you know how I feel about the Exorcist Believer. So for a movie to remind me of that is not a good sign. And for a movie from the same studio, that released both these movies is not a good sign. It makes me also like, because I like Lee Cronin's movies. I think he's done pretty good for himself for a guy who's only made, well, now 4 movies, but before this 3. It makes me a little bit worried for Mike Flanagan's Exorcist movie. It's just like, I don't think you guys at Blumhouse have learned your lesson when it comes to these IP movies that they have with Five Nights at Freddy's, The Wolfman, The Mummy, Exorcist. I can probably keep going on. It's just probably some of these other ones that become more forgettable. I'm like, man, you guys play it just way too safe and way too bland, where it's just like, I've seen this done before. And I don't know if it's because like they got so scared at the backlash they got for the Halloween trilogy they made, even though for me it's like, shit, I'd rather get a Halloween Ends where it did something different, it did something unique, than what they did with Exorcist Believer, which was like, oh my god, we're just going by the numbers here, and this is just painstakingly long for no reason. It does make me nervous for the future installments of the Exorcist franchise, but also everything else that Blumhouse has acquired over the years with these old properties, these Universal horror movie properties like The Mummy, Wolfman, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, because I know Dracula is coming next, I think, is the next thing they have in mind. It's just like, man, what's it going to be? Like, one of the funny ones I heard was like, knowing Blumhouse, they're going to do a Frankenstein movie, and it's going to be like, he got built together inside of like, I don't know, a Midas like auto shop and everything, and all this like they're gonna make it so urban and so like, okay, by the numbers and whatnot. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do. I really don't. I could keep rambling on here, but I'll get lost in my thoughts and everything of just worrisome about the future of Blumhouse and their horror movies. For for me, this movie, and I hate to say it, this movie's 1 star for me. It's not that I had high hopes for it or anything, but it was kind of like I was a little excited for like what Lee Cronin was gonna do with this after what he did with Evil Dead Rises, and it's just like, oh cool, he made Evil Dead Rises 2, but it's like sequelitis problems as well and everything. So yeah, it's just not a good time. Despite the amazing his gore team that he carried over from Rise to this film, yeah, they definitely, they're definitely the strength of the movie. They are. And that first 20 to 30 minutes of just setting everything up, so good. But it sucks to say when it's like, man, like we're 2 hours in, we're at the climax. I don't care what's going on. I'm checking my watch. I want to get out of the theater. It's never a good sign for me. Yeah, 1 out of 4 stars for me.
I'm gonna have to echo everything, or a lot of what you just said too. I was really connected with this in the beginning for about the first 30 to 40 minutes, thanks to sort of the familial bond that Lee Cronin sets up. And if Evil Dead Rise is any benchmark, because I have not seen The Hole in the Ground, I reserve judgment. I would like to watch that. But if I could say anything about Lee Cronin, I will say that he does seem like he's able to craft a family dynamic. I'd love to know what this gentleman's home life was like, too, in that part, Seems like he's in need of a hug, like our boy Ari Aster. But the camaraderie between the siblings, the setting of Cairo, it all interested me in the very beginning until it sort of devolved into a derivative slog through exorcist cliches, as you mentioned, Pet Cemetery cliches.
Yeah.
And then it winds up feeling like not Evil Dead Rise, Evil Dead Redo in that way.
There you go. That's a better way of putting it.
and that's the disappointing part about it. Now, hats off, I will say, to Lee Cronin. His name is all over this. He is inextricably linked to it. I have every reason to believe that this is his vision. Maybe Blumhouse interfered. I wonder if Blumhouse touched up a little bit of the ending. That's just my personal speculation.
That did feel like test audience, like reconfiguring the ending and everything.
It did. It felt a little focus grouped in that way. So I'm giving it 2. I'm giving it 2 out of 4. Because the thing is and what's funny is it's 2 hours long. It never bored me. I know I'm different from you on that. It never bored me. Like, I was with it the whole time, but it just started to disappoint me. And I think the strength of the first half hour kept me into it. It's 2 out of 4 stars for me. It's 2 out of 4 stars for me. I don't dislike this. I will say as somebody now who's got a Shudder connection, Shudder has been making some awful films this year.
Oh yeah, they have. Yeah, I've seen.
They Whistle, Forbidden Fruits, Faces of Death was great. I'll give them that. Faces of Death was great. It's been a rough year for Shudder. That's why I look at this and I'm like, man, this is kind of a tick up for Blumhouse.
It's rough too, because at first I was like, shit. I'm like, all right, maybe the horror movie streak is coming to an end. Because I know you like Scream 7. I didn't. But I didn't like Iron Lung. I didn't like this, The Mummy. I wasn't crazy about Ready or Not 2. I'm like, shit. I'm like, I think the wells run dry now in horror movies. We're coming back around. And I'm like, wait, no, we're not. I'm like, dude, 28 Years Later was great. Send Help was great. And then I saw Hook 'em, and I'll share my opinions on that, whether we do the show or not, when the time comes. But then I also see what's lined up in May, and I'm like, all right. Potential rebound for the year.
Yeah, no, it has to be. It has to be. I would say at least a year of sustained mediocrity for an era to end. That said, though, I will lump in there too. I know what you're saying, though. There's been some crappy horror movies this year. Don't get me wrong. You mentioned Send Help and 28 Years Later. I'm gonna give you a little boost here. Primate.
You know what? I didn't see it, but everybody told me that is a fun B movie, horror movie. It's well made, and the practical effects are insanely good.
Reminds me a little bit of 47 Meters Down, Fall, where it takes a basic concept and it just executes it to the nth degree.
Yeah,
there's that one. Primate. Undertone. I loved Undertone.
I forgot about Undertone. I missed that.
I loved Undertone. And the other one too is coming out this weekend, Over Your Dead Body.
Yeah.
So there is hope. There is hope.
There is hope.
I'm just gonna keep reminding myself if I see, especially one of these movies like The Mummy or The Exorcist that's tied to an existing, franchise or something. I'm just gonna remember, like, man, it was what, 12, what, 13? I'm doing math in my head. 13 years between Final Destination sequels, and Bloodlines really nailed it.
Bloodlines killed it, man. Bloodlines was amazing.
So I'm like, if how great Bloodlines was, it's at least going to take a couple roller coasters down to inhibit this. But no, I still contend, even as seeing some shitty horror movies. I didn't even mention Slanted. I didn't even mention Slanted.
Oh man, what was the movie I texted you? Like, I was like, oh, what movie should I go see this weekend? And I went on not IMDb. I went on Letterboxd, and I sent you, and I'm like, all right.
I'm not seeing Slanted. No, that was a well. I'll talk about that one come January. I'll talk about that one on the show come January, probably. But that's our show tonight. Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Great review tonight. Really great review.
Yeah.
Next week's Michael. Next week is the Michael Jackson biopic, which I've been prepping for. Shameless plug here, stevepulaski.com. Rewrote my review of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker from 1988. I'll have it published tonight. Working on my review of Michael Jackson's This Is It, the 2009 movie, the concert, the behind-the-scenes concert.
That's a great documentary.
Great film. Catherine and I rewatched it the other night. So good. I hadn't seen it since it was in the theaters. So good. Working on a review of that tonight. Also got reviews of Captain EO. Got reviews of Michael Jackson's Ghosts. A lot of short films that MJ did in the 80s and 90s. Basically flooding my site with a lot of different Michael Jackson-related content. And in preparation, really, for the new movie that's coming out tomorrow night. So very, very excited to review it. Very excited to talk about it. Jafar Jackson, his nephew, is the star of it. So we're going to have a lot to say about that. We're going to have a lot to say. We did not review the and it's okay. I know scheduling got in the way. It's okay. I'll bring it up. I'll probably bring it up for comparison's sake. But we didn't review one of the best biopics that I've seen in the last 5 years on the show, which was Springsteen.
Okay.
Deliver Me From Nowhere. So that's sort of my baseline for that. But at either way, or at either rate, we'll be back next week. Michael, can't wait for it. Looking forward to it. Gonna tackle it on the show. We'll have the trio back next week. I know Dom is a busy man, so it was good for him to make a cameo tonight. Until then, for Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon, yours truly, this has been Sleepless with Steve.
live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.